Hey guys, how are you all doing? Welcome to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if Naruto wears a mask to hide the pain of his childhood? Naruto x Female Kyuubi, Part 2. So before we start, go check out the author of this fanfic, Synica, link is in the description. Also subscribe if you enjoy the video. Let's start the story. Day 3 of the second test, but their heaven scroll burned, and in possession of the Odo team's Earth scroll, Team 7 went searching for a team they could get a replacement heaven scroll from. Ever since Naruto had regained consciousness after the fight, he had attempted to contact Kyuubi to find out what was happening to his body. Naruto became increasingly worried when Kyuubi either refused to respond or was unable to respond to his questions. Finally, Naruto decided to see exactly what was wrong and called a stop in a clearing next to the river. Naruto formed a quick hand seal Kyuubi had taught him that allowed him to enter his mind and visit whenever he wanted. When Sakura was Naruto slumping to the ground unconscious, she became worried and rushed over to his side but was held back by Sasuke, who shook his head. Sakura looked to Sasuke for an explanation. He's fine, he's just checking his subconscious mind for any damages. He was taught that technique by a medical specialist when he was in the wave. Sakura nodded and watched Naruto, silently praying he would be okay. Meanwhile, when Naruto woke, he was horrified at what he saw. The regular yellow sewer with yellow pipes was still there, however, there was a mass of pulsing purple pipes that outnumbered the yellow ones by 3 to 1. Naruto strained his ears and just heard a growl from the cage's direction. He ran to see what the problem was, twisting through the maze of corridors before emerging into the light, which faded to reveal the cage. Naruto noticed that Kyuubi was panting from exertion. "So you finally turned up, eh kid? Kyuubi, why haven't you been responding to me?" The lowered itself onto its haunches. "I have, but it seems you never received my replies. That cursed seal is disgusting. I'm sure you noticed those purple pipes on the way here." Naruto nodded. The corridors represent the major chakra paths, while the pipes represent the minor ones. That cursed seal has created completely new chakra paths that gorge themselves on the major ones, draining you of your chakra when you try to mold it and putting incredible strain on your cells. It seems that the people who don't have a large chakra reserve have all their chakra eaten during the initial stages, and that causes the person's cells to self-destruct from the strain. You have no idea how close you were to dying, even with my help. If this keeps up, you will never be able to use my chakra again, because all of it is devoted to keeping the cursed seal at bay and healing the wounds you get in combat and the wounds this seal is causing. Kid, here's a warning. Until you can find someone who can put an overlaying seal on it, do not use it. The only way I can think that would give you an edge would be to directly convert your stamina into speed and strength, like that green spandex wearing freak does. Naruto nodded as he took Kyuubi's advice in. He'd practiced stamina, increased speed, and power before several times. The speed and power it granted were unbelievable, but it drained stamina at a horrifying rate, even for him, as Sasuke had deemed him the stamina fiend. The most Naruto had managed was 25 minutes before he collapsed, and that was with Kyuubi's help. Without it, he guessed he could last or so minutes before exhaustion set in. Naruto broke his chain of thoughts and looked at Kyuubi. "Hold on for another 2 days. I'll get Kakashi-sensei to fix it." "Fine. Now get out of here, I hate being seen in this state." Naruto raised an eyebrow. "The only one seeing you like this is me, and I personally don't think any less of you for it." The demon lord raised its head and stared at the boy in disbelief. "You don't think I'm weak now?" Naruto shook his head. "No. I would take an inhuman amount of power to keep the cursed seal at bay and heal me at the same time. Now, I'm leaving before your head inflates and this room shrinks." Kyuubi stared at the boy and laughed as he retreated back to the real world. Kyuubi mused to itself. He's not like the rest of those pieces of trash. Not by a long shot. Naruto woke up to find that Sakura had started a fire and Sasuke was bringing back fish for them to cook and eat. Sasuke saw Naruto sit up and rub his eyes. Sasuke skewered the fish with a stick and put them against the fire to let them cook. He sat on the opposite side of the fire from Sakura, next to Naruto. Sasuke turned to his adopted brother with a look of concern on his face. "What did you find?" Naruto returned the serious gaze. "If we use it, I use it or you use your Sharingan, we're pretty much stuffed." Sasuke nodded slowly. "I had a feeling it would be something like that." Naruto smiled. "I did find out that we do have one thing going for us though." Sasuke turned to Naruto with interest. "What would that be?" Naruto smiled sadistically. "We may not be able to mold chakra, but we can still use stamina in its raw form." Sasuke had been training with Naruto during the stamina-induced speed and strength training. Remembering this, he smiled. "It's not all bad, I guess." Naruto laughed half-heartedly. "Imagine the look on that green freak's face when he sees it." Sasuke smirked. "Priceless." They both shared a chuckle as they pulled one of the fish off the fire, now that they were cooked, and began eating. Sakura had no idea what they were talking about, but then again, she'd found out early they were able to make obscure references or hint at things that would leave anyone else with no clue, but the other would pick it up flawlessly and run with it. She'd gotten used to the fact that she was the odd one out of this group. She could tell, even if she refused to believe it, that they would both be content if they could get rid of her off the team. After they had finished with their fish, Naruto looked at Sasuke, who nodded. They turned to Sakura. Sasuke spoke for them. "Sakura, we're both still hungry, so we're going to go catch another bunch of fish. Give me your canteen, we'll fill it up while we're there." Sakura handed her canteen to Sasuke, and the two boys left to go to the river. However, they were only using the ruse. They were still hungry to get away from her. It was true, but it still provided an excuse to talk privately. Once they emerged from the foliage, they sat at the river bank, talking about everything that had happened so far, while skewering any fish stupid enough to jump out of the water to a tree with a thrown kunai, which was apparently a lot of them. After what they deemed was, as long as they could stay without making Sakura worried, Sasuke got up and filled the canteens with fresh water, while Naruto retrieved the fish. Once they finished, Naruto jumped over the river to land next to Sasuke with their kunai and fish. He sighed as they began walking back to camp. Sakura's a total nuisance. It seems all she's good at is using that abnormally large brain of hers to answer theoretical questions and use the most basic skills in the most predictable manner. Sasuke nodded in agreement. Naruto had only said his true feelings for his female teammate in Sasuke's presence when he was certain Sakura or anyone else was out of earshot. Naruto had very bad experiences with giving his opinions to friends, as he found the next day, the person he had talked about cornered him with a group of friends. If they were male, they'd beat him. If they were female, they'd cuss him out. He'd quickly learnt that Sasuke was the only person in the entire village he could really trust to keep secrets. Sasuke also felt the same way about Naruto. It was one of the core parts of their friendship. Everyone else was not to be trusted because even after multiple chances, they all screwed up every time. They were brought back from their respective memories when they saw a ninja standing in a very imposing position over Sakura. Both boys noticed it was Kabuto. They took an offensive stance and charged in, however, Kabuto stood up and smiled. "No need to attack me, you two. I was actually stopping Sakura from opening the scroll." They looked to see that Sakura was indeed beginning to open the scroll. Sasuke sighed and Naruto growled through clenched teeth. "Can we really not leave you alone for 10 minutes without you getting into some sort of trouble?" Sakura looked at Naruto and tried to apologize. "I don't want to hear it. Give me the scroll." Naruto took the scroll out of Sakura's hands with more force than was necessary. Naruto turned to Kabuto. "Thanks for that, Kabuto." Kabuto smiled warmly at them. "No problem." Sasuke raised an eyebrow. "By the way, Kabuto, what are you doing here by yourself? Are your teammates nearby?" Kabuto shook his head and explained what his team had planned. "Originally, we planned to separate. I was charged with recovering the other scroll while my teammates would head to the tower. They would also grab a set of scrolls from other teams who came close in case I returned empty-handed or without the scroll we needed." Sasuke nodded. "It was a decent plan, providing you could beat 3 other genins by yourself." Kabuto smiled at them. "Since I'm here, would I be able to ask you guys to escort my teammates?" Naruto smiled. "What's in it for us?" Kabuto rubbed the back of his head and smiled sheepishly. "Well, I managed to get a second heaven scroll before I found the earth scroll we needed." Sasuke, "Deal. Let's get going." Kabuto led the way to the tower. However, Naruto called for a stop. They looked at him expectantly. He closed his eyes for a moment before opening them. Straight ahead is a large area surrounded by concealed chakra. It's very faint, but I can feel it. The only thing I can think of is Genjutsu. Sasuke nodded. "I felt something was wrong." "That makes sense." Kabuto looked at the tower before turning back to his escorts. "You're right. The tower should be much larger by now, but the Genjutsu is warping it. We should go around it." They nodded and shot off in a different direction, much to a group of hit-and-miss nin's chagrin. Within several hours of tree jumping, they had reached the base of the tower. Kabuto smiled and pulled out the heaven scroll, handing it to them. They heard rustling in the bushes next to them and they tensed before Kabuto's teammates stepped out. They looked at the scroll Kabuto was giving Naruto and looked back at Kabuto. The one with the clear glasses frowned. "Kabuto, what is the meaning of this?" Kabuto smiled in his usual friendly way. "Well, I happened to find an extra heaven scroll before I found an earth one and, as a trade for them escorting me here, I gave them the extra one." The one with the black glasses nodded. "That's fine. However, Sensei's expecting us. You know he doesn't like to be kept waiting." Naruto smiled. "Thanks for your help, Kabuto. We'll see you in the finals." Kabuto smiled and waved at them. "Take care." With that, Kabuto increased his walking pace and caught up to his teammates and they entered a door of the tower. Team 7 took the one next to them and took out the scrolls. Naruto handed one to Sasuke, and they looked at each other, nodded, and ripped the scrolls open. The main part of the written seal raised, and smoke emitted from the lump. Sasuke knew exactly what this was. Naruto. These are summoning scrolls. Get rid of them. Naruto and Sasuke threw the scrolls on top of each other on the floor in front of them. The smoke increased in volume before it exploded into a cloud, revealing their academy teacher when it cleared. Sakura was the only person who was happy to see him. To Naruto and Sasuke, he was just another person who couldn't be trusted. Iruka smiled at them, pulled a watch out of his pocket and opened it, checking the time. He sighed before snapping the watch's lid closed again and putting it back in his pocket. Congratulations on passing. I knew you could do it. Naruto wanted to know why Iruka had appeared. Iruka-sensei. Why were you summoned? Iruka smiled. Junin are required to meet every team that passes the second test. I was lucky enough to be chosen to give you the message. Naruto nodded. Sasuke smirked, making everyone look at him. I see. Since these are summoning scrolls, what would you have planned to do if we had opened them before we got here? Iruka smiled and turned around to collect the scrolls. You're as sharp as ever, Sasuke. Iruka picked up the scrolls, showing them to them. As you have guessed, this part of the exam tests your mission completion ability. So if you had broken the rules and opened them prematurely, we were ordered to knock out that team until the second exam ended. Sasuke smirked again and looked at Sakura. Are you glad now that you didn't open it? Naruto joined Sasuke staring at Sakura who was sweating bullets, making a silent thank you to Kabuto. Sakura decided to try and get the attention taken away from her by pointing to the inscription on the wall. Oh. Sensei, what does that inscription on the wall mean? I've read it, but I don't understand it. Iruka smiled, turning around and looking at it. That was the second half of my mission, to explain what that means. Read it. It's the principle Hokage-sama wrote that you should keep in mind, as a chunin. Heaven in this text refers to the head of a person, and earth points to the body. If you do not possess heaven, gain knowledge and be prepared. Say for example if your brain was your weak point, you should study and prepare for your missions. If you do not possess earth, run through the fields and seek strength. So if your weakness is your stamina and strength, then you should train yourself every day. If you possess both, dangerous missions will become safe. It can even become easy. Sakura pointed to where the missing letter was on the inscription. Then what's that missing letter? Iruka smiled. It's the letter that symbolizes a chunin. The human letter that was in the earth scroll goes there too. The survival mission you took part in these last 5 days tested the basic abilities of the examinees as a chunin, and you guys completed it. A chunin is a commander class. He has a duty to lead his team. Deeply inscribe into your heart the importance of knowledge and strength in missions. Never forget the chunin principle and go on to the next step. That's all I was ordered to tell you. Team 7 nodded in understanding. Iruka smiled and waved to them. I'll catch you guys later. With that, Iruka popped out of existence, leaving Team 7 to go to the central hall, where they found every other team that had passed was mulling around. They also noticed that all of the examiners, jounins, and even the Hokage were standing up at the front of the room. Anko turned away from the circle of jounins and faced the genin. Her voice rang out from every corner of the room, indicating she was using a paw. Alright, line up in your teams, we have an announcement to make. The genins lined up. The Konoha ninjas saw that the entire Rookie 9, Team Guy, and Kabuto's team, as had the Odo and Suna teams, had made it. They turned back to Anko as she cleared her throat. First of all, congratulations on passing the second test. We will now have an explanation of the third exam from Hokage-sama. Everyone listens well. The Hokage stepped forward, cleared his throat, and began. The third exam will begin, however, before that, there is something that I want to make clear to all of you. Several people in the room knew what was coming next. Kabuto's team were some of them. Naruto had a fair idea, but he kept his mouth shut. It's about the true purpose of the exam. Why do we do a joint exam with the allied nations? Naruto and Sasuke knew exactly where this was going now, but they still decided to shut up, mainly because of the constant pain they got from their seals. To maintain good relations with the allied nations, and to heighten the level of the ninja, do not let those reasons deceive you. This exam, so to speak, is really just a replacement for war. A lot of the genin gasped. Tenten decided to question what this meant. What do you mean? If we go back into the pages of history, the current allied nations now were in fact bitter enemies, fighting for the right to rule. To avoid the massive waste of military power that is the result of war, they agreed to localize the fighting to one area. This was the beginning of the chunin selection exams. Ino still didn't understand. What? So this isn't for chunin promotions. This exam is indeed to examine those who are worthy of the chunin title. But on the other hand, it is also a place where ninja fight and carry their country's dignity. In the third exam, feudal lords and famous people from varying countries who may be potential clients are invited here as guests. Feudal lords from countries with hidden villages and ninja leaders will see your battles. If there is a significant difference in power, the strong country will be flooded with jobs. If a country is seen as weak, their jobs will decrease, and at the same time, countries are able to show how their village has grown and possess excellent military power to the adjacent countries. In other words, they can put foreign pressure on them. Kiba obviously still didn't get it and proved it by questioning the Hokage further. So why do we have to fight the risk of losing our lives? Naruto sighed mentally. No wonder he doesn't get it. His dog has brains that rival his. Naruto looked at the Hokage, as he had a fair idea of what speech the Hokage would use to answer it. The country's power is the village's power. The village's power is the shinobi's power, and a shinobi's power is only manifested in life or death situations. How true that is. Naruto knew if he managed to get this cursed seal at least suppressed, and he was put into a life or death situation, he felt sorry for his opponent. He turned back to the Hokage's speech. This exam is also a place to show off the ninja power of one's country. Since this is an exam where you fight with your lives on the line, it has a meaning, and your predecessors have fought and dreamed of being in the Chunin exam because of it. Apparently, no one had any more questions, however, Gaara was obviously impatient. I don't care. Tell us the details of this life or death exam. The Hokage nodded. Then I will begin explaining the details of the third test, but the Hokage was interrupted by a jounin whose body flickered in front of him. Excuse me, Hokage-sama. I, Jekuhei, the judge, will explain. Please do. Deku slowly stood up, not turning to face them. It's nice to meet you, everyone. Everyone, before the third test, there's something I want you to do. Fight in some preliminary matches to see who gets to progress to the main matches. Most of the genin started murmuring to each other. Sakura wanted a further explanation. Sensei, I don't understand. Why can't we just progress to the main matches with the remaining examinees? Deku coughed again and looked over them. It may have been that the exams were too easy this year, or you're all exceptional genins, however, there are far too many of you left. The time of the feudal lords and other important people is precious, and we cannot afford to waste it with endless battles. Therefore, only 10 or less people are allowed to enter the main matches. According to the Chunin exam regulations, we are required to hold preliminaries to decrease it to a suitable number. We are also limited on time, so those who do not feel well and wish to quit, please raise your hand now. You can do so without hurting your team, as from now on, it will be one-on-one matches. The preliminaries will begin immediately. Would anyone like to quit? Sasuke and Naruto were stealing their determination to keep going when a particularly bad pulse from the seal went off, causing them both to unconsciously grab their necks. Sakura noticed this. Sasuke-kun, Naruto. Sasuke saw that he and Naruto were thinking the same thing. The time intervals between the pain spikes were getting shorter. Sakura saw where they were both clutching and guessed what the problem was. Sasuke-kun, Naruto. You should both withdraw from the preliminary matches. Both of their eyes widened at this. Sakura pressed on. Both of you have been acting weird since that Orochimaru guy beat you. Naruto, you're acting more like when you fought Zabuza and Haku. The bruises hurt even now, right? Please stop. I'm afraid. Enko, Ibiki, and the Hokage began discussing what they should do with the two. The suggestion of forcing them out of the matches and surrounding them with Anbu escort in isolation when Kakashi butted in. Neither of them are the sort that will listen to you that easily. They both have backgrounds that give them a stubborn will to try their hardest, after all. Enko got pissed off and started chewing Kakashi out for his lack of seriousness in the situation. Stop fooling around. I'll make them both quit even if I have to use force. The cursed seal reacts when they try to mold chakra and it will try to extract power from them. It's a forbidden act that undermines the affected person. It amazes me that they're both able to withstand it. A normal person would be dead. Enko turned to the Hokage. Hokage-sama. Sakura still hadn't let up trying to make them quit. Neither of you are in any condition to fight. You should just. Both of them turned to her, glaring at her despite the pain. Shut up. I knew it. Sasuke whispered to her. Just be quiet. Sakura couldn't take the hint. You've both been bearing this pain the whole time. Naruto tried this time. Sakura, learn when to take a hint and shut it. Sakura still didn't get it and decided to go to the next level. Whatever you say, I'm still going to tell the teachers about it. Sakura started raising her hand, but she stopped when she saw Kabuto had already raised his own. The Hokage looked at him. What is it? I quit. Everyone stared at him, and Jeku flipped through the clipboard's paper, stopping at a certain page. Iruka no Hazikushi Kabuto, right. Okay, you can leave. Kabuto turned around and walked through the lines towards the door. As he walked out the back of the group of genin, Naruto stopped him. Kabuto, why are you quitting? Kabuto turned around and smiled at him. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, but I'm exhausted from chakra. I'd rather quit now while I'm still in one piece than face off against someone and be taken out of here on a stretcher. Naruto sighed. Good luck next year, I guess. Kabuto nodded. Good luck to you too, Naruto-kun. Just then, both Sasuke and Naruto unconsciously grabbed their necks from the pain spike. Deku turned back after having a short chat with a few of the other jounins and the Hokage. Will anyone else be quitting? Sakura started raising her hand, however, both Naruto and Sasuke grabbed her hand and brought it back down. Sakura gasped, but Sasuke continued to glare at her, as if daring her to try and raise her hand again. Be quiet about this, seal. Sakura started tearing up again, but shook her head to clear the tears. Why are you both acting so tough? I don't want to see you suffer anymore. Naruto wanted to butt in, but, as much as he hated to admit it, Sasuke had more experience when it came to angsty speeches, so he let him continue. It doesn't matter to you, Sakura. You're just being nosy. Sasuke and Naruto dropped her hand and she made no move to raise it again. Sakura looked at them questioningly, begging for a reason. Sasuke provided her with one. We told you before. We're both Avengers. To us, this isn't just an exam. We don't care about being Chunin either. Sasuke and Naruto both had a glazed expression covering their eyes, their faces showing they were deep in memory. Sasuke continued. Are we strong? That's all we want the answer to. Both of us are going to fight the strong ones, and those strong guys are all here. Sasuke and Naruto broke out of their memories and glared at her. Sasuke finished off the speech. Neither of us will even allow you to take that away from us. But the cough, Deku caught their attention. No one else made a move to quit, so Deku pointed to one of the panels on the back wall. Said panel slid up to reveal a display screen. Then, let's start the preliminaries. It will consist of one-on-one matches. In other words, it will be like real combat. Now that we have exactly 20 people, we will have 10 matches. The winners will be able to progress to the third test. There are no rules for engaging in combat, and you will fight them until they die, are knocked out or admit defeat. However, if I decide the match is over, you will stop immediately. The electric bulletin board will choose 2 names at random from the participants. Without further ado, I will start the selection for the first match. The screen flashed completely yellow before the names of the people flashed over the board's top and bottom half with incredible speed. In between the names was a permanent VS symbol. The names stopped with a beep, revealing the first match was between Uchiha Sasuke and Akadu Yoroi. Naruto and Sasuke smiled. Neither of them had been expecting to get a go right off the bat, but it was a pleasant surprise. Deku turned back to the genins, coughing again, he motioned the 2 fighters forward. They walked out from their team lines and stood in front of everyone. As Sasuke passed Naruto, Naruto smiled and whispered to him. Remember how we're going to fight. Like I could forget. Sasuke kept walking forward and stared at Yoroi. Deku turned back to the other genin. The others who will not participate in this match, please stand on the balconies along with your jounin senseis. Kakashi walked purposely close to where both Sasuke and Naruto were standing. Neither of you used chakra or your special abilities. It was enough to know that Kakashi understood what had happened. Sasuke smiled. We've got it covered. Good. However, if the seal manifests during your fight, I will jump in to stop the fight. Sasuke and Naruto stiffened. He wouldn't dare, would he? Kakashi continued walking with Naruto and Sakura up to the balconies. Deku coughed. Are both fighters ready? They nodded and Deku raised his hand. Then the first match began. Yoroi's hand began glowing with chakra and he charged Sasuke, however, Sasuke smirked and disappeared in extreme speed. This caught everyone's immediate attention. This was no normal speed. This kind of speed could only be gained in 2 ways. Years of harsh physical training or pumping pure stamina into your muscles to increase speed and strength. Both options had their merits and disadvantages, but the disadvantages for the latter were far greater than the former. Not only would it eat at your stamina at an incredible rate, it would also put incredible strain on your body, equivalent to Lee's secondary lotus. The effects would take some time to begin showing, however, Sasuke had no intention of letting this fight get to that point. He appeared behind Yoroi and punched him in the back, sending him flying. This had happened in less than a second since the match had started, and everyone was amazed. Sasuke pressed his advantage and charged again, leaving a trail of dust that had gathered on the floor behind him. Yoroi saw Sasuke coming and just managed to duck Sasuke's foot which would have connected with his head and ended the match immediately. However, Yoroi was now inside Sasuke's guard and pressed the advantage. Yoroi's hand glowed blue again and sprang upwards before shoving his hand onto Sasuke's head. Sasuke immediately could tell something was wrong as he felt his strength quickly leaving his body. Sasuke kicked Yoroi's midsection to get him off and considered his next move. Yoroi laughed. So, you found out what I do? Yeah, it's rather interesting. A stamina draining. Yoroi chuckled. Exactly. No further words were said as Yoroi charged at him, hand once again covered in chakra. Sasuke decided to take a page from Naruto's book and try a variation of one of his combos. Sasuke disappeared and reappeared right underneath Yoroi, which took him totally by surprise, throwing him off guard for a second. A single second was more than enough time for Sasuke to begin his move. Sasuke kicked Yoroi in the chin from his crouched position and jumped up to shadow his flight through the air. Sasuke had read about a particular part of a highly adaptive taijutsu combo native to the leaf which interested him. It was called the Leaf Shadow Dance. The possibilities of what to do from here were practically endless, providing you had the originality to do something new with it. So he decided to be original. Yoroi also apparently recognized the move. Leaf Shadow Dance. Sasuke had formed a new combo on the spur of the moment and decided to try it. Yup. From here on out, it's all original. Sasuke poked two fingers into Yoroi's back to get a center of gravity from which to rotate for his attacks. However, being the annoying bastard he is, Orochimaru decided to toy with Sasuke and activated the cursed seal. Sasuke coughed up blood as the examiners considered jumping in. The fuck, I'm going to lose to this thing. But Sasuke's willpower alone, he forced the cursed seal to withdraw, shocking more than a few people in the audience. Sasuke got his usual smirk back and put his fingers back in place. Sorry to keep you waiting. Let's go. Sasuke brought his right leg around in a sweeping strike, which Yoroi blocked with little effort. Not good enough. Kakashi and Naruto knew otherwise. No, you're not good enough. To illustrate the point, Sasuke brought his left fist in another sweeping motion, much like a lion would when it slashed at its prey. This hit Yoroi couldn't guard and it caught him full on the face, sending him plummeting to the ground. I'm not done yet. Sasuke landed another few sweeping strikes before he finished it off with an axe kick straight to Yoroi's midsection as he came into contact with the ground, essentially doubling the damage it would have done. Sasuke announced his combo to the crowd. Shai Shirenden. Lion combo, for those of you who couldn't guess. Naruto smiled. He was absolutely flattered that Sasuke would take one of his original movies and modify it so that to others, it would look original. However, this was one of the subtle ways Sasuke would acknowledge Naruto in public, which made it all the more sweeter. Apparently, Rock Lee was getting ideas. That's my. Naruto cut him off. That move does not belong to you or anyone else. The first two moves are a very common part of a lot of Konoha shinobi's taijutsu styles because of the huge variety of possibilities you can do with it. In fact, if he copied it off anyone, it was me. Lee was shocked at Naruto's level of knowledge. What he had said was true, however, Lee had never met a person before who used it apart from himself and his sensei. Said sensei had a few words to say. Naruto-kun. Your fires of youth burn brightly and are an example to us all. We should all take an example from Naruto-kun and bask in the springtime of youth. I turned to Naruto, hoping for some input, however, the input he got was exactly what he was hoping he didn't get. Did you say something? Guy's eyes widened in disbelief as he clutched his hands to his head. The room suddenly turned pitch black and only Guy was surrounded in a blue spotlight. Oh my god. The room returned to normal brightness and everyone in the room was staring at Guy. Everyone. Guy seemed to take no notice and turned to Kakashi. Kakashi, did you teach Naruto-kun your annoyingly hip attitude? Kakashi was actually reading his copy of Icha Paradise and looked up after the sentence. Did you say something, Guy? I faulted but quickly recovered. It seems we now both have rivals Lee. We must work harder to overcome our difficulties in these times of trial. Sensei. Your words inspire us to live out our springtime of youth to the fullest. Lee, your words bring a tear to your sensei's aching heart. Sensei. Lee. Sensei. Lee. Everyone became aware of a constant rhythmical banging usually associated with bone hitting hollow metal and turned to see both of Lee's teammates banging their heads against the railing in time with each shout of a name. Naruto was interested in this so he walked up to Tenten and tapped her on the back, causing him to startle out of her head-banging trance. What are you doing? Tenten looked at him sadly and recounted her tale. We have to put up with this regularly, so both Neji and I tried to find ways to block it out. Even earbuds didn't work, but then I started hitting my head against something solid when they degraded to calling each other by their names. Surprisingly, the quick jolt of pain manages to block out their voices for the second it takes to call each other. Naruto was laughing up a storm mentally. He saw that the heir to the branch family of the Hyuga was also doing this. The Hyugas may be bastards, but not even I would subject them to this on a daily basis. The fox seemed to agree for once. This is worse than anything I've heard of either Ibiki, Anko or Orochimaru doing combined. Just then, both Guy and Lee flung themselves into each other's arms and started crying rivers. Naruto started backing away cautiously, hoping not to set them off. Holy shit, do you know any sort of rare incurable disease that gives people bowl cuts, super brows, makes them wear green spandex, and scream about hip attitudes and the springtime of youth? Naruto heard a sigh in the back of his mind as the kyuubi began. I ever had, I would make sure to destroy them and everyone they pass the disease onto. Whatever it is, it's not natural. It's even scaring me, and that's saying something. Naruto was brought out of his inward conversation when a kunai came whizzing past his cheek and landed at the front of Lee and Guy. Everyone turned to Anko, who looked very peeved. She glared at them. Would you two both shut up? We're trying to get these fights over with. They both decided to shut up as they noticed everyone was staring at them warily. Jeku coughed to catch their attention and pointed to the screen. We will now decide the next match. The screen once again flashed and began scrolling through the names. The next match was unexpected. Uzumaki Naruto vs Inuzuka Kiba. By now, Sasuke had limped back up to the crowd and joined his team. Naruto could tell that the pain intervals were becoming far too frequent for his liking, and Kakashi seemed to notice this. After your match, Naruto, both of you are coming with me so we can fix that problem. They turned at him and glared. No point in glaring. If we leave it for much longer, it might do something irreversible. Naruto sighed and jumped down, which caused a shudder to go through his body. Kiba had no idea if he was lucky or unlucky, and this showed on his face as uncertainty. Naruto took advantage of this. You're lucky in a way. I can't use my chakra, therefore no. However, that leaves me with Taijutsu. Deku coughed and brought his hand down in between them. Second match, begin. Kiba bent down and formed a ram seal, saying his technique mentally. His claws started lengthening and he sped off. Just as Kiba was about to strike, Naruto disappeared just like Sasuke had. Kiba was nowhere near prepared for this and tried to compensate for the lack of a target on the end of his fist, which threw his balance way off. Naruto took advantage of this and appeared behind him, kicking him in the mid-back. Kiba stumbled and received a series of lightning-quick jabs and kicks from all directions. They weren't exactly powerful, however, they were fast and frequent, which more than made up for it. Akamaru decided to join the fray, and Kiba took a chance to make a roll to the left towards his dog, which jumped onto his back and barked before Kiba announced his technique. Jujin Bunshin. Akamaru turned into an exact copy of Kiba and they charged at Naruto from different directions. They jumped into the air and began rotating, turning into something resembling a great tornado. At Suuga, Orochimaru decided to intervene again and set off Naruto's cursed seal, freezing him from the pain. The Jounins once again prepared to jump in as they saw the mark spreading over Naruto's face. However, Naruto started to grit his teeth, emitting a barely audible growl, which quickly morphed into a howl of primal fury. The seal started retreating, just like it had with Sasuke, and Naruto jumped out of the way at the last second, leaving Kiba and Akamaru to collide with each other before they had a chance to stop. Both of them were knocked out and Akamaru's henge was even dispelled. Kiba slowly got up and took a step forwards, but Naruto used a lot of his quickly depleting energy to charge at Kiba, driving him into the nearby wall into near unconsciousness. Naruto was panting heavily and stared at Kiba. Use your forethought or they'll be used against you, Baka. Naruto wobbled and fell to the floor, only to be caught by Kakashi's shin. Naruto looked up at him. Come on, we're going to get you two fixed up. Naruto nodded weakly and Kakashi poofed back up to the team's position and then pooped out of the room, leaving everyone else to watch the matches. In some dark and scary back room, both boys were surrounded by a pair of concentric circles with kunai embedded at certain points. Kakashi had just finished painting the last of the kanji and blood up Naruto's back. Both lines of kanji centered around the cursed seals. Kakashi looked at his handiwork, nodded, and stepped forward. This seal technique utilizes your will powers as its source. Should you ever doubt or question your strength, the seal will temporarily break and allow the cursed seal to activate. They both nodded in understanding as Kakashi formed a quick chain of hand seals and placed his hands on both boys' necks, which made them stiffen up. Gyujahuan. The area flashed white and both boys screamed in agony as the lines of kanji slowly worked their way up Naruto and Sasuke's bodies in wave-like motions. Finally, the last of the kanji disappeared under Kakashi's hands and he let go to reveal another seal had surrounded the cursed seal. Both boys looked at him, then each other, and fell forward, unconscious before they even hit the ground. Kakashi smiled and he heard a sinister laugh behind him and turned to see the silhouette of a man. The man stepped towards him so the small amount of light in the room revealed his sandaled feet, which were ghostly white. Kakashi could sense the absolute aura of death coming off him. There was no mistaking who this man was. Orochimaru. Orochimaru emitted a little bit of purple chakra and stepped into the light to reveal that it was indeed him. It's been a while, Kakashi-kun. I have no business with you, however, I have business with the boys behind you. Kakashi straightened and glared at Orochimaru, not that it had any effect, but it would at least hide some of his fear. Why are you after them? You're lucky because you got what you wanted already. Kakashi stiffened and let out a muffled gasp. You didn't have that a long time ago. Kakashi lowered his head slightly, trying to hide his anger. Orochimaru pressed his advantage. That Sharingan in your left eye. I want it too. Uchiha's powers, that is. What is your purpose? The recently made village of sound is mine. You understand if I just say that, right? Kakashi HMPH'd with confidence he didn't really have. What a stupid ambition. Oh my. That was blunt. But to accomplish my ambitions, I need pieces to become my arms and legs and accomplish things for me. So Sasuke and Naruto are two of those pieces. No. They are the supreme pieces. The ones taking the exam right now are merely sacrifices. Little did they know that one of said sacrifices was completing his role now and had just had his arms blown off from the clogged pipes in his arms. In the back room, Orochimaru took several steps forward before Kakashi readied the Rikiri. Don't get any closer to them. Even if you're one of the legendary Sannin, I can sacrifice my life to kill you. Orochimaru just laughed at the gesture, which made Kakashi suspicious. What's so funny? What you say and what you do not agree with each other. Nani? There is no point using that seal. You know, right? They both have hearts that will seek power no matter how dark it is, as long as it will let them accomplish their goals. They possess that kind of disposition. They are Avengers. So, you took advantage of that. But neither of them will. Eventually, they will seek me out. Orochimaru began turning away and walking off, and Kakashi let the Rikiri die down. Seek me out for power, that is. Also you said that you could kill me. Try. That is, if you can. Orochimaru sent off a large wave of killing intent to prove his point. Kakashi stiffened at this and began shivering as Orochimaru walked away. Sacrifice my life to kill him. Am I mad? Kakashi stood up and put both boys over his shoulders, taking them to the hospital. After the last rather anticlimax battle of Choji rolling around in his meat-tack form and Dosu from the hidden sound punching the ball of flesh as it was stuck in a crater, causing Choji to deflate and fall unconscious, the winners were called forward to pick a number out of the box Anko was holding. The last two numbers left were 1 and 4. They gave Naruto 1 and Sasuke 4. The matchups were decided and the Hokage told them about the final test and that they had a month to train and rest before dismissing them. A few days later, outside a heavily guarded hospital room, Naruto and Sasuke had been placed in the same room under heavy guard. Kabuto had broken in once but had been foiled by Kakashi, although the sneaky sound nin had actually escaped. Kakashi had no idea what to do. He knew he should train them, but both at once would be a serious handful. Sasuke's style suited his own, plus having a set of Sharingan helped. He decided there was only one man who could help Naruto, and Kakashi had overheard two very angry women saying a man of similar description to the man in Kakashi's mind had been spotted peeking into the local women's hot springs, just the sort of thing this man was known to do. Kakashi planned a clever ruse to ask Abisu to teach Naruto the water walking exercise at the hot springs, claiming Naruto hadn't learnt it yet, which was very easily believable. He hoped that Naruto's real teacher would be there to take over, although he would have loved to see the initial exchange between them. Taking Sasuke from his bed the moment the Uchiha woke up, they disappeared for a month, with no word from either of them. When Naruto woke up, he saw a note from Kakashi saying he'd taken Sasuke to train, and that he'd found him an even better teacher than he could be, explaining that he would be here shortly after he alerted the hospital staff he was awake. Naruto sighed, pressed the buzzer, and saw a very angry-looking nurse storm in, just managing to keep herself from asking what the demon wanted. Naruto stared coolly at her, betraying no emotions. Where is he? The nurse had no clue what he was talking about, but decided he must be talking about Sasuke. Uchiha-sen was, I don't mean Sasuke, I mean my new sensei. The nurse really had no clue what the boy was on about when the door opened, revealing the Takubetsu Jounin, Ibisu. Naruto sighed. How the hell could Kakashi possibly think this closet pervert is way better than him? I can tell you right now he's not. His power levels are way below Kakashi's. Think Kakashi's got a trick up his sleeve. Possibly, Kit. Naruto got out of bed, finding he was still in his clothes. He stared at Ibisu. Let's get moving. I don't know what Kakashi-sensei couldn't teach me that you could, but I want to see. Ibisu was used to this kind of rudeness from Konohamaru, but coming from the demon, it was unacceptable. You will address me as Ibisu-sensei. I'll address you by that title if you actually manage to teach me something I don't already know. If you can't, you're not really a teacher, are you? Ibisu hated to admit it, but the boy had a point. You couldn't really call someone a teacher if they didn't teach you something you didn't know. Luckily, Ibisu was confident. Very well. Let's go to the hot springs. Once they arrived there, Ibisu walked towards the hot spring. We're going to learn water walking. Naruto facephalted but got up and started leaving. Ibisu was puzzled. Where are you going, Naruto? Don't you want to get stronger? I won't be fooling around with you. I already know water walking. Prove it. Naruto stopped. He really hated when people underestimated him, so he stormed back and continued storming into the water, much to Ibisu's dismay. Happy now? Naruto picked up a faint giggling noise from his left. He turned to see a white-haired old man giggling as he looked through a hole that led to the women's baths. Naruto saw his opportunity to get rid of his arrogant teacher. Naruto pointed. That old man is committing a shameless act. Stop him. Naturally, Ibisu took the bait. He ran at the man, screaming about people committing shameless acts in his presence. The old man turned around and summoned a frog. Naruto became interested in this. The frog smacked Ibisu with its tongue, knocking the man out cold. Naruto knew he was weak, but this was a joke. Naruto looked up at the man in interest. Suddenly, something clicked. White hair perverted frogs. Jiraiya. The man looked at the kid who was staring at him oddly. He smiled. That's me. Let me introduce myself. Jiraiya struck a dramatic pose and started his long-winded speech on how he falls for no women's wiles and that he was the legendary of some mountain or other. By the time Jiraiya had finished, he saw the boy was asleep. Jiraiya's sweat dropped. He smacked the boy on the head, waking up with a start. Naruto looked around in mock grogginess. What time is it? How much of that did you hear? Naruto looked at him, rubbing his eyes for effect. Up to the part where you said your name. Jiraiya's face fainted. He'd heard absolutely nothing of it. Jiraiya sighed and turned his back to go. I'm off. Be a good kid and take him to the hospital. I'm not doing anything for him. Jiraiya stopped and looked at Naruto. Why not? Because he's just like the rest of the damn villagers. He thinks I'm nothing more than a piece of trash. Jiraiya looked at Naruto with full interest now. Why is that? Why do you care? If I told you, you'd just act like the rest of them. Try me. Naruto sighed. He knew this guy had a deep connection to Yondaime, so he went for it, hoping Jiraiya would be different from the rest. Yondaime sealed the kyuubi in me when I was born. The entire village needed something to take their anger out on, and they chose me. Almost all of them hate me, and a few pity me. However, only one actually accepts me. Frankly, I would have been happier if Yondaime let Kyuubi finish the village off. Jiraiya was shocked to say the least. He had his suspicions, but what Naruto had just said confirmed it. What the hell had Sarutobi been doing? Naruto turned to leave. Naruto? Where are you going? Why does it matter to you? If you have to know, I'm going to train. Jiraiya sighed. He decided he might as well go for it. What if I take over your training? I can teach you some cool things. Naruto stopped and his ears perked at the word. Jiraiya smiled as Naruto turned around. What exactly did you have in mind? Jiraiya smiled and he hopped onto the roof. Take him to the hospital and then meet me near the waterfall several kilometers south of here. Jiraiya jumped from building to building and the frog that had been sitting there the whole time poofed out of existence. Naruto dragged Ibisu unceremoniously to the hospital's front door and left him there before charging back to the meeting spot. Jiraiya was there, as promised, peeking through some bushes giggling. Naruto walked up and stood over him, casting a shadow over Jiraiya's notebook, causing him to look up to see Naruto standing over him. Jiraiya smiled uneasily and got up, leading Naruto over to the creek. Jiraiya looked at him. Have you ever used Kyuubi's chakra before? Naruto suddenly shuddered. Yes. Jiraiya wanted to get an understanding of what happened so as to teach Naruto this the best way possible. What happened? Naruto looked sullen and put his head to the side. I don't want to talk about it. Jiraiya sighed, pushing for an answer. Come on, I need to know if I want to teach you this. I committed a massacre. This was not the answer he was expecting. Not by a long shot. It also didn't answer Jiraiya's question he had meant to ask, so he had to keep pushing. What did it feel like when you released the chakra? Describe everything. Leave out the bits of your actions, just describe what it felt like. I felt so bloodthirsty I also had no control over my actions or senses. I can't put the feeling into words. Jiraiya nodded. Were you experiencing any extreme emotions at the time you released it? Yeah, I thought my brother had just died. He's the only one important to me. When I lost him, I didn't care what happened, I just wanted them dead. So I let Kyuubi take over my body. When I regained control. Okay, I get the idea. Well, it seems that for a transformation, you need to be experiencing extreme emotions. However, I think it's still possible to draw on Kyuubi's chakra without being taken over. I know, but I don't like doing it. I only do it if I have to. Jiraiya nodded, standing up. Alright, I'm going to teach you the Kuchiyas no Jutsu. No thanks, I don't want to have anything to do with frogs. But frogs are great. I mean, I'm sure they are. It's just what they symbolize that makes me want to have nothing to do with them. Jiraiya sighed. He had one idea left, but he doubted the boy could learn it in a month. What about this then? Jiraiya formed a spiraling ball of chakra on his left hand. Naruto recognized it immediately. Rasengan. Naruto thought over the pros and cons of learning the villagers would be severely pissed off that one of their almighty Yondame's trademark had been passed on to the demon boy, but it would come in handy for his goals in life. Naruto nodded. Sounds good. Jiraiya sat back down. We'll need some training materials. Get me a small number of water balloons. Naruto nodded and headed into town again, finally finding a place that would let him buy the damn things, even if it was at 3 times the normal price. It was a small price to pay for learning a powerful language. Naruto returned with the water balloons. Jiraiya filled one up with water from the river and held it in his palm. Naruto, you remember when I showed you the full Rasengan, right? Naruto nodded. What did you see? Naruto thought about it. You initially condensed a huge amount of chakra into a single point and then let it radiate out while pumping more into it. It got faster and faster the longer you held it. Jiraiya nodded. Exactly. This has to be learnt in 3 stages. The first stage is rotation. Watch. Naruto watched as a large number of points on the surface of the water balloon poked outwards before the balloon burst, spraying water everywhere. Jiraiya smiled. Do you want an explanation of the principles or do you want to just try? Naruto had a fairly good idea of what Jiraiya did to make the balloon pop. He should be able to get it by the end of the day. I'll just try it. Jiraiya smirked before filling another balloon with water and tossing it to Naruto. Jiraiya looked at Naruto confidently. It took 3 years for Yondaime to create and master. Naruto looked back, nonplus. It takes far less time to learn something already known than it does to be the first one to find it out through experimentation. Jiraiya conceded the point to Naruto. Even though he had learnt it in a fortnight. Jiraiya left Naruto to try various methods of getting the balloon to pop with guidance from the kyuubi. By about 3 in the afternoon, Naruto was getting damn close. Spinning chakra in many differing directions was not something ninjas did often, if at all. Finally, Naruto managed to ease another spin into it and the balloon finally broke from the stress, water flying everywhere. Naruto looked at Jiraiya, who was still peeking at the girls bathing at the waterfall. Naruto growled, picking up a water balloon, filling it with water before holding it over Jiraiya's head, careful not to let his shadow show. Naruto rotated his chakra through the water and the balloon popped all over Jiraiya, who spluttered and looked to see Naruto staring at him. First stage complete. 2 days later, back at the waterfall, Jiraiya had told Naruto to go home, collecting a bunch of rubber balls for training the next day. Naruto had returned with a bagful from the same store. Again, the woman charged triple the price. Naruto made sure to get her back later with a prank or something, but for now, he needed to train. Once he arrived, he found Jiraiya actually meditating and not peeking. Jiraiya opened his eyes as he saw Naruto approach. Jiraiya made a pass it to me motion with his hand, so Naruto threw a rubber ball at him. Jiraiya held the ball out in front of him. First step was rotation. Second is power. You have to make this ball pop like this. The ball started morphing hideously before exploding, releasing swirls of chakra. Jiraiya continued his explanation. This step is harder than the first because there's no water, meaning that you can't feel your chakra as well as you could in the first step. Give it a try. Naruto picked up a ball and began applying the knowledge of the first step. Practically nothing happened. Naruto experimented like this for 2 days before he finally came up with an answer. Oh my god. How could I have not realized this earlier? I have to compress a huge amount of chakra to a single point and then release it. Naruto held the rubber ball and began trying to focus the chakra to a single point. However, keeping the point exactly the same down to the millimeter was hard, to say the least. Naruto sighed. I need a marker of some sort. Naruto realized he had none and Jiraiya only used a pencil for his notes and so thought about what he could do. Kyuubi came to the rescue. I can put a mark on your hand. It'll hurt a bit but it'll be permanent. Don't have much of an option right now. Go for it. Naruto was aware of his hand tingling. The tingling became a burning sensation which Naruto barely managed to contain himself from howling in agony from. Smoke came off his hand, indicating that indeed it had been burnt. Naruto looked at his hand to see what the mark looked like. Much to his chagrin, it was a simplified fox's head. That's not funny. Deal with it, kid. Naruto sighed and picked the ball up again. The kyuubi seemed to have thought Naruto had forgiven it for the massacre and was getting back to its more boisterous self. In hindsight, burning the imprint on had indeed been a good idea. He could still feel the pain slightly, which also gave him an internal indication of where to gather the chakra. Naruto began pumping chakra into the fox's head on his hand, which he could have sworn glowed blue, and began pumping as much chakra into it as possible. The ball morphed hideously before it exploded, sending dirt and small pebbles flying. Jiraiya looked up at this, smiling. Your son's a genius just like you, Arashi. Naruto smiled at his handiwork when he heard the clip-clopping of Jiraiya's footwear on the rocks underneath him. Naruto smirked confidently at his new sensei. At this rate, I'll have the Rasengan mastered in another 3 days. Jiraiya laughed. The last stage is far more difficult than the other two combined. I'll tell you what. I'll make you a bet. Naruto liked bets. He never lost. Go on. If you master the Rasengan by 6 PM 3 days from now, I'll teach you the basics of one of the most powerful Yondaime inventions. If I lose, Jiraiya turned his back and prodded his index fingers together, getting a nosebleed. You have to walk around in your sexy no jutsu form with me for an entire day. Naruto's face faltered. The stakes were high indeed. Naruto was starting to seriously regret using his specialized henge to get Jiraiya's attention yesterday. However, Naruto had never lost a bet and he wasn't going to start now. You're on, Hirosenin. They shook hands to seal the deal and Naruto was getting impatient. What do I need for the final stage? A hell of a lot of regular water balloons. No water this time. Naruto nodded and pulled one out of his pockets he had left for the first step and gave it to Jiraiya. Jiraiya took it, blowing it up and then sealing it. Watch carefully. Jiraiya held up the balloon. Nothing happened before Naruto understood. You're doing the complete Rasengan in there. Jiraiya nodded. Exactly. The aim is to add the rotation from the first step and power from the second, combining them into the final form. You have to maintain a thin layer of air between the edge of the Rasengan and the inside edge of the balloon. Good luck, you'll need it. We'll see about that, you perverted freak. For once, I agree with you. Naruto immediately ran back to the village, getting a huge bunch of balloons. This time, the lady charged him quadruple the price. Naruto was really going to make her pay for that when he got the time, putting the thoughts for a prank out of his mind for the moment and decided to use the rest of the afternoon to train. Going to a little used section of forest near his house, Naruto began practicing, failing every time. However, he was determined to get it right and continued training till the early hours of the morning. Just before 6 PM, 3 days later at the waterfall, Jiraiya looked at his watch. The kid had 2 more tries left before the deadline. Jiraiya was already thinking of fun things to do with a cute naked girl following him around when he saw Naruto try again. Naruto was close to getting it, there was no doubt about it, however, he hadn't made the tiny final discovery that would ensure mastery of the Rasengan. Jiraiya wasn't surprised when the balloon burst, sending chakra everywhere. Naruto looked at Jiraiya for a moment and saw him holding up a single finger. One more try, make it count. Thanks for the moral support, Furball. Furball said nothing as Naruto suddenly had an idea. It was his last hope, but he had nothing better to go on, so he prepared. He decided to try it without the balloon this time, much to Jiraiya's interest. Naruto started forming the Rasengan, imagining the balloon still surrounding it. Naruto talked to himself through his mantra. Focus and retain. Naruto had decided to sync his focus and retain a cycle to his breathing. Focus the chakra with a breath in, retain it with a breath out. Jiraiya watched amazed that not even a single bit of chakra escaped the Rasengan. Jiraiya timed it, letting it go on for 30 seconds to make sure. Alright Naruto, you win. Naruto drove the Rasengan into the nearest tree, keeping his focus long enough to put a flag of sorts to mark his victory on the tree. Jiraiya smiled. Well done. First things first, tomorrow, you're going to get out of that tacky orange jumpsuit and get some decent clothing. Do you even know why I wear it? It makes you look like a target. Exactly. Jiraiya raised his eyebrow. Had this kid gotten a screw loose or something? How is that a good thing? The point is, I wear this to stand out. People think I'm stupid because I wear bright clothing. They usually find out that I'm smarter than they are when they find the orange-clad blonde standing in front of them with a kunai in their stomach. Jiraiya had to admit it was a clever strategy. However, he was not letting up. I don't care. Keep a little of the orange if you want, but change your clothes. The design looks like something those green spandex wearing freaks would design. That settled it. Naruto was not wearing anything that could possibly be designed by those disease-ridden weirdos. He still wanted to keep some orange to maintain his look at me. Look at me. I'm a bimbo. Appearance, but he would change it. Next morning, Naruto immediately went clothes shopping. To save time, he used Kage Bunshin no Jutsu to scout all the stores, hoping that one store would let him in. Not surprisingly, it was the same store he got his old clothes from. The Naruto clone looked through the store's clothing racks and eventually found a jumper and pant set. The jumper had a small, neck-hugging black turtleneck collar, with the top 1/4 of the jumper being black. The bottom half was orange, as were the pants. If you still can't imagine it, think of Naruto's clothes after the time skip. Naruto bought 2 sets and paid the regular price for them. He left the store with his clothes, quickly going to his apartment and getting changed before running to meet Jiraiya at the usual place. When he got there, Jiraiya gave him the once-over and sighed. The boy could have gotten worse, but it was acceptable. Jiraiya got off the tree he was leaning against and pulled out a kunai. It wasn't just a regular kunai, it had 3 points and an orange tag wrapped around the handle. Jiraiya held it up to Naruto for inspection. Recognize this? Naruto shook his head, so Jiraiya began explaining. This is the kunai that allowed the yondaime to use Hiraishin no jutsu. Do you know the principle behind this? No, that was a very closely guarded secret. True. Well, Hiraishin is a mixture between two types of. You know what Hiraishin did, so take a guess as to how it could be done. Naruto thought about it for a while. Obviously, it requires a high rate of movement, so it may involve something like body flicker. However, the only faster way to move than body flicker would be to. It hit Naruto like a ton of bricks. Hiraishin was essentially a Kuchiyus no jutsu crossed with the Shushin no jutsu. Yondaime was able to summon himself. This must have shown, as Jiraiya was startled to no end, that Naruto had been able to figure out what no one else had without being directly told with a tidbit of information. How the hell do you summon yourself? Jiraiya looked thoughtful. It was hard to explain without telling the secret of how to do it, not that it would have mattered to anyone else, but with Naruto, there was a distinct possibility he would be able to do it. Even Jiraiya couldn't do it. Well, how do you normally summon something? By sacrificing some blood, forming the hand seals, and pumping chakra into it. Jiraiya nodded. Take a good look at this kunai. Jiraiya passed it to Naruto, who caught it deftly and began examining it. Now, Naruto considered himself his year's expert on seals with obvious reasons, but this was way out of his league. He'd never seen a seal so intricate. He looked back up to Jiraiya for an explanation. As you said, to summon, you need to sacrifice some blood, form the hand seals, and use chakra. What if you could somehow pre-make a seal that already had all of those in it? Naruto agreed, although it would be insanely difficult, it was theoretically possible. Relooking over the seal, he noticed that the seal centered around three very distinct parts. The kanji for blood, seal, and chakra. What really surprised Naruto was that there were also several kanji surrounding each one that represented things usually associated with summoning contracts. In essence, this seal was like a summoning contract, the signature of the person who signed it, and the method for summoning all in one. This seal was, in one word, incredible. Naruto wasn't surprised that no one had been able to copy them. Jiraiya looked at Naruto, seeing that he was appreciating the true way this worked. However, for each person who could even perform it, the seals would have to be altered dramatically for it to be usable. Jiraiya smirked, catching Naruto's attention. Arashi had once mused that successfully changing the seal so another family member could use it could be the equivalent of the Uchiha rite of passage into manhood by learning the Gakkaku no for his family. That is nothing compared to this. That's Arashi for you. Naruto looked over it a final time before pocketing it and stood up. Does the kunai itself have anything to do with the seal? Jiraiya shrugged. Arashi never told me. He said that they were made of a special alloy of two metals, aluminium and titanium, for strength and also to lighten the weight. He told me that there was no secret ingredient in them, but I'm not sure if the shape of it has anything to do with the kunai's abilities. Naruto nodded as he shoved the information to the back of his mind for later processing and focused on the next thing. So, is there anything else cool? Jiraiya's sweat dropped. I've taught you enough for now. Go train yourself. I'd suggest trying better to harness the kyuubi's power for when you need it. Later, Naruto. With that, Jiraiya poofed somewhere else, leaving Naruto to his own devices. Naruto decided to take the super pervert's advice and try harnessing kyuubi's power without going on a killing spree. 3 weeks later, at the stadium, the feudal lords, head ninja, and other important guests had all arrived, and the last of them were taking their seats, anxious for the matches to start. The only participants that weren't there were Naruto and Sasuke. The examiner. Does anyone actually know the guy's name? The guy is always chewing on the took stock of the 6 genin in front of him. Shikamaru had a question. Boy, what happens if Naruto and Sasuke don't make it in time? They'll be disqualified. How troublesome. Shikamaru suddenly became aware of a human-shaped shadow hanging over him. He turned to look at the shadow. It led towards the stadium wall and disappeared, meaning that whatever the shadow belonged to was standing on top of the stadium wall. Shikamaru looked up, covering his eyes from the sun to see the silhouette of a figure. The figure had spiky hair and struck a confident pose. The figure flickered out of existence and reappeared in between Shikamaru and Neji, who had conveniently left a space for him. They all looked at him warily, to which he paid no notice. He was more interested in the crowd. Naruto turned to Shikamaru. Yo, Shikamaru, who am I fighting? Naruto turned to see a very confident Neji. Perfect, just perfect. Now I get to humiliate him and the entire Hyuga clan in front of the world. The examiner turned his head to them. Boy, you three. Look at the crowd. You're the main stars for this play, so look the part. They looked back to see that every single set of eyes had been focused on them. The examiner turned to them. Take a good look at this. He held out a piece of folded paper which he deftly unfolded with a single finger. It was the tournament bracket. Everyone, but Naruto seemed very interested. Why, Naruto had no idea. There's been a change in the matchups. Check again to see who you're going against. They did so. Naruto saw that he faced Neji, then the winner of Sasuke and Gaara's match. He had it tough. Beating Neji shouldn't prove excruciatingly difficult, but it was the next match that worried him to no end. Kyuubi had almost instantly picked up that Gaara was the container for Shukaku when Naruto first saw him. Naruto was drawn back to reality as the examiner folded the piece of paper and put it into his jacket. Although the terrain is different, the rules will be the same as the preliminaries. One-on-one, no rules. I will stop the match if one of you becomes unable to continue, give up or die. First match is Uzumaki Naruto vs Hyuga Neji. Everyone else, please go back up to the waiting room. Gaara led the way and everyone else followed. Finally, just Naruto and Neji were left. They stood opposite each other, Neji looking smugly confident as one would when victory is assured. Naruto scowled at Neji. It looks like you want to say something. You can't win. Neji smiled and activated his Byakugan. His eyes tell me he is totally confident in himself. He is not hesitant at all. This will make it all the sweeter when you realize the true reality I will enjoy seeing. Neji became acutely aware of snoring coming from Naruto's direction. Neho looked to see Naruto feigning sleep while standing up. It was a fairly convincing act too. When Naruto heard Neji had stopped, he looked up at Neji. So, have you finished your clan's ultimate yet? Neji raised an eyebrow, clearly not following the blonde's train of thought. Naruto explained. From what I've been able to work out, the Hyuga seem to enjoy talking their opponents to death. I'd say they've perfected it into the clan's ultimate. The boring monologue of doom, no. Neji's eyes twitched at the insult, however, he lowered himself into his Jayuken fighting pose. The examiner announced the first match. Then, the first match began. No one said anything. No one moved a muscle. They didn't even breathe. One breath might shatter the moment. Naruto decided to start things off by throwing a trio of kunai at Neji, who deftly blocked them. However, while Neji's concentration was on the kunai, Naruto's body flickered directly behind Neji and aimed a punch at the back of his head. Neji blocked it with ease before turning around and continuing dodging Naruto's attacks. Just as Neji got inside Naruto's guard, aiming for a shoulder strike to close a major, Naruto's body flickered back to roughly where he had started. Naruto looked at Neji with feigned interest. Now you see, you have no chance. Neji, have you ever learned? This fight isn't over until you're laying on the ground, not being able to move a muscle, and believe me, that's the way this fight is going to end up. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. The entire arena was filled with solid Naruto clones. Everyone in the crowd was shocked. This genin had used a jounin level better than most jounin who could use it could. This kid was full of surprises. Each clone pulled out a kunai and readied themselves. Neji had to come back with a smart answer. But there is only one real one. The Naruto clone smirked. Good luck finding it, team. If you wish. With pleasure. The clones moved as a mass and surrounded Neji, exchanging blows with a lavender-eyed boy. Neji quickly dispatched a large group of the clones before he charged for one in particular, giving it a vicious attack to the heart. The clone started pooping out of existence. Neji looked at the one he had stabbed and smirked. The more the clones attacked, the more one stood out. You feared you're being attacked, so you stayed back. You're the real one. Naruto on the end of the stab managed to sigh. Again, the Hyuga's all-powerful Byakugan fails. The real Naruto poofed out of existence, revealing it was a clone. Neji flinched at the fact that his flawless analytical skills had been so easily manipulated. He noticed from his near 360-degree vision a single Naruto figure attacking. You'll have to do way better than that, Hyuga. The punch connected with Neji's face, or so people thought. Naruto immediately noticed what was happening and body flickered away as Neji did his family's signature absolute defense. Naruto reappeared behind Neji. Interesting. That move is supposed to only be taught to Hyuga head family successors. I doubt they teach it to you just because you're the genius of the Hyuga clan. Meaning you worked it out for yourself. Show me, what else have you figured out? Neji prepared for his next. You're within range of my divination. Jayukenpo. Hakirakujuai Onshu. Neji charged at Naruto, who did nothing. Naruto was secretly liking where this was going. Although it would hurt, it'd let him get to the point he wanted this fight to go. Nidshu, Yonshu, Pashu, Yorokushu, Sanjuunashu, Rakujuai Onshu. Naruto flew back with the hint of a smile on his face. Naruto landed on his stomach and started laughing weakly, causing Neji to look at him. What a scare. However, would you like to see one that's even more scary? You can't. You don't have any chakra. No normal chakra, no. However, I have a backup supply. Naruto slowly struggled to get to his feet. Neji watched amazed as he did. Naruto breathed heavily and stared at Neji coldly. However, before I show it to you, I want to ask you something on behalf of the Hyugas. Neji looked interested. What would that be? What have you, as a clan, actually done for Konoha? And don't give me that crap about gracing us with your presence. Neji thought about it. What shocked him the most was that without something along the lines of what Naruto had said, he couldn't think of anything. For the first time in Neji's life, he had nothing to say. He drew a big one. Fat. Blank. Nothing. The Hyugas had essentially done nothing for Konoha. Neji looked at Naruto with a rather disturbed look on his face, which made Naruto smile. Now, let's go over all the problems you've caused us. First, you've segregated yourself from society. Second, you almost restarted the war between the leaf and the cloud. And finally, the most disgusting thing of all. You stayed in your manor when the kyuubi attacked. Everyone was completely wrapped in Naruto's accusations of Konoha's most powerful family. Neji was about to bite back when Naruto painfully held up a hand. Hear me out. Have you ever been to the war memorial for those who fell at the hands of kyuubi? If you have, you'll notice something. There is not one single name from either the Hyuga or Uchiha clans on it. The Uchiha, however, had a valid excuse. They were the city's police force and thus were completely taken up with evacuating the village civilians to safety. The Hyuga had no such excuse. However, I'm willing to let you relive the situation on a watered-down scale. Let's see how you would have fared. Naruto immediately closed his eyes. Can you try to manifest the chakra into something recognizable? Easy. Naruto formed a ram seal and began a low growl as he bent his knees. Chakra started leaking out of Naruto. However, this chakra was not blue. It was red. Blood red. Naruto's growl turned into a roar as the chakra filled his system, flooding him with power. Neji was trying to understand what the hell this was when the chakra made its first manifestation. Neji and anyone else who had Byakugan could see that the chakra inside Naruto's body had formed a monster's head. The chakra wrapping around Naruto began manifesting in a visible way for everyone else to see. First, a tendril grew out of Naruto's tailbone. The tendril thickened and lengthened before being quickly joined by 8 more. The chakra tails whipped wildly in the air while Naruto looked at Neji very smugly. Can you see them? Neji flinched, which Naruto took as a yes. Then let's step it up a notch. Naruto put his hands out to his sides and closed his eyes as the chakra tails wrapped themselves around him and finally re-entered his body. Nothing happened for a moment until chakra started seeping up from the ground, surrounding Naruto in a barrier of chakra that looked surprisingly like a flame flickering in the wind. Like it did when Naruto fought Neji in the main matches in the anime manga. Naruto had one final request to his tenant before the battle started. Could you try manifesting the tails as well? They were cool. You're still a kid in some ways, fine. Naruto growled once more as the chakra tails returned while he was still maintaining the aura. Naruto decided to drop to all fours for effect. He could tell Neji was scared beyond words, so Naruto decided to rub it in a bit more. Neji, this is only a chosen manifestation of the chakra. If I wanted, I could pull out a hell of a lot more. But for this match, this will do. Let's go. Naruto bounded towards Neji with incredible speed, tails flicking everywhere as he went. Neji just managed to dodge the swipe as Naruto's body flickered out of the way of Neji's return strike. Neji looked through his almost 360-degree vision for any sign of the blonde and saw him out of the corner of his vision racing along the stadium wall. When Neji turned to look at him, Naruto jumped off the wall and straight at Neji, launching 3 shuriken at the Hyuga. Neji used a kaiten to block them and pick them up as they fell to the ground, adding 3 of his own, hurling all 6 of them at Naruto with a warkri. Naruto made no effort to dodge and simply swiped each one away with a different tail, much to Neji's dismay. Naruto was about to reach Neji when his body flickered directly behind him and aimed another punch to his head. Neji just avoided it by jumping sidewards and pulling out a kunai, which Naruto mirrored. They both threw the kunai at each other. The kunai hit in the middle and they both jumped into the air, catching their kunai and jumping at each other, trading a mid-air blow before coming to a rest. Neji looked up at Naruto as he began speaking. You're confident about close combat, right? Naruto held out his right hand and everyone was shocked as the Kyuubi's chakra began forming a sphere on his hand. They were even more shocked at the noise it made. Few people recognized them. The Hokage had the most vocal reaction. That's Yondame's. Naruto smiled as he completed and charged forward at Neji in a blind charge, at the ready. Naruto smiled and said just loud enough for Neji to hear. Kyuubi. 1. Hyuga. 0. Neji started the kaiten and got it working just in time for the Rasengan to connect with it. Naruto called out to him as he shoved it at Neji. Rasengan. There was a blinding flash of light and a massive explosion that covered the entire stadium. Everyone was gasping at the sheer force of the explosion as it settled down. Once the dust settled, they saw Naruto and Neji both in craters, not moving. Neji was the first to, as he slowly got up and wobbled over to Naruto's form. The Hyugas would have indeed. Neji was cut off when Naruto appeared from a hole in the ground behind him and kicked him straight into the ground, finishing off Neji's sentence for him. Lost. Naruto picked up Neji and hurled him at the side of the arena, slamming him into the wall, leaving Neji to slide down and collapse on the ground. Naruto walked up to him. "Where's all your bravado now, Hyuga? Face it. Your clan is weak. They have nothing to be proud of, yet they are. I'm finished with you. Examiner, this match is over." The examiner looked over Neji and confirmed that this match was indeed over. Hyuga Neji is unable to continue. Winner, Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto dispelled the chakra and stood, glaring at his fallen opponent. As Naruto expected, he got nothing. No claps, no cheers. He smiled silently to himself as he returned to the visitor's box, where everyone was staring at him in some form of fear. Except Gaara. Naruto looked at Gaara and smiled evilly. "I look forward to fighting you. That is, assuming you can beat my brother." Gaara stiffened, barely controlling his bloodlust. Unfortunately, Sasuke had not shown up yet. After a quick word to the Hokage, the examiner looked at the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, one of the contestants has not arrived yet. Therefore, we will be putting his match last." This was met with a chorus of boos and groans. The examiner looked at the contestants' box. "Next match is between Kankuro and Shino. Both of you, get down here." Kankuro stiffened and called over the railing. "Examiner. I forfeit." The crowd was now on the verge of causing a riot. The female from the sand trio brought out her fan and created a small gust of wind before riding her fan down to the stadium floor. Once she was there, she exchanged a few words with the examiner before he looked back up at the examiners. "The other guy, get down here. Nara Shikamaru, that's you." Shikamaru was mumbling to himself about fighting women and troublesome when Naruto picked him up and hurled him into the stadium. "Get it over with, Shikamaru, you lazy ass." Shikamaru hit the ground and stayed there. After a while, people started shouting, throwing things at the boy. Temari growled and charged him. "If you're not going to attack, then I will." "Boy. We haven't started the match yet." Temari ignored the examiner and slammed the closed fan into the ground. Much to her dismay, Shikamaru wasn't there anymore. He was standing on top of two he had driven into the wall nearby. "This is troublesome, but I have to do it." Temari unleashed a whirlwind at him at point-blank range, devastating part of the wall. Shikamaru had naturally gone, causing Temari to smirk. "You're good at running away, aren't you?" Temari released whirlwind after whirlwind at the trees, slashing them. After a few moments, Temari noticed a shadow heading straight for her. She jumped back, scoring the earth with her fan, marking where it got to its furthest. Both of them analyzed the situation. Shikamaru assumed his thinking pose. After about 5 minutes, he put one hand in his ninja pouch, retrieving a kunai. Temari smirked. "Looks like you're a bit more determined now." Temari snapped open her fan and let loose another storm of chakra-infused air. This one lasted for quite some time, as evident by how many packets of chips Chouji had gone through since the gust was unleashed. Temari let it die down, with no sign of the lazy pineapple-haired boy. "How much longer are you going to keep running?" She let loose a short, sharp gust, which kicked up a large amount of dust. The dust cleared around one particular part, revealing a kunai coming straight at her. She dodged it, blocking another one with her fan, and she saw the shadow coming for her again. She smirked and stood there. She realized almost too late that the shadow would pass the line, so she jumped back, the shadow barely missing her foot. Good insight. "So you were killing time, waiting for the sun to set and increasing the wall's shadow line to increase the surface area of your own shadow. When the sun starts to set, shadows grow. Right. Yup." What Temari failed to notice was that the second phase of Shikamaru's plan was about to be set into motion. Kankuro saved her. "Temari. Above you." Temari looked up to see Shikamaru's jacket and forehead protector acting as a parachute for a kunai. Temari looked back down to see the contraption's shadow was about to expand enough to catch Shikamaru's shadow in it, thereby extending its shadow further. She jumped back, dodging the extended shadow tendril, until she came to a rest in between the holes in the stadium ground caused by Naruto. The shadow stopped just short of her, and she slammed her open fan into the ground, giving her some cover. She started forming some seals for a bunchen when she lost control of her body. She gasped, and Shikamaru smirked. Hajime no Jutsu finally succeeded. "I'll show you what's behind you." Shikamaru turned his head for Temari, who mirrored the movement. Behind her, his shadow had indeed captured her, but not in the way she had expected. He had used Naruto's hole to extend his shadow to catch her from behind. Shikamaru walked towards her, which made her walk towards him. They met and raised their hands. Everyone was waiting with bated breath before something unexpected happened. "I give up." Everyone still held their breath, but for an entirely different reason. They were trying to understand those 3 words. People quickly broke out into shouting and booing, not even hearing the explanation Shikamaru was giving to Temari. People quickly started getting restless for an entirely different reason. This was the battle of the Uchiha survivor versus some unknown Suna kid. The Hokage allowed 5 more minutes of waiting before Sasuke would be disqualified. As the last few seconds counted down, a swirl of leaves filled the middle of the stadium. Naruto smiled, knowing exactly who it was. About time you made it, Sasuke. You were less than a second from being disqualified. We were late for a reason, Naruto. The leaves settled down to reveal Kakashi back to back with Sasuke, who was sporting a new one-piece black Uchiha suit. I'm not going to explain the new clothing. Go look at the episode for yourself if you don't know. Sasuke looked at Naruto. You won your match. It wasn't a question, it was just stating it like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Naruto nodded and jumped down, walking up to Sasuke. Watch it. Gaara's like me. He's the Ichibi's container. I wouldn't be surprised if he has full control over its powers. Sasuke nodded and Sasuke looked up at Gaara. That down here. Gaara teleported down while Naruto and Kakashi left to go their separate ways. Kakashi went to the stands while Naruto went back to the waiting room. The examiner quickly covered the rules for Sasuke's benefit and then began the match. Gaara's sand immediately came out of its gourd, making Sasuke jump back. Gaara clutched his head and began conversing with no one in particular. Naruto shook his head, muttering to the other contestants. Wow, he's conversing with no one. Shukaku really screwed with his mind. Temari and Kankuro looked at Naruto in fear while she looked at him quizzically. Shukaku. The weakest demon lord, Sabaku no Shukaku. Temari and Kankuro were even more scared. Shukaku was the weakest. They'd hate to see what the strongest one was. Little did they know, they were staring at its container right now. They turned back as Gaara clutched his head again, making the sand drop to the ground. He looked up at Sasuke, apparently more collected. Come, let's start. Sasuke flipped open his shuriken holster and flicked his wrist, releasing a pair of shuriken at Gaara. However, a wall of sand formed in front of him, stopping them. The wall of sand turned into a Sunabunshin. Sasuke charged forwards, and Bunshin released a wave of sand from its chest, aimed straight for Sasuke. Sasuke jumped and released another pair of shuriken to counter the ones the Sunabunshin had just thrown back at him. Sasuke twisted his body around to sweep his leg at Bunshin's neck, but the hands and arms took the damage instead, dissipating. Sasuke did some handstand acrobatics and jumped back up, slamming his forearm into the Bunshin's neck, who looked slightly surprised before getting a gleeful smile on its face as the sand began to grow over his arm, attempting to trap it for a Sabaku Kyu. Sasuke palmed Bunshin's face with his free hand, making it explode. Sasuke took advantage of the break in shield of sand, running forward only to be met with another one. Sasuke smirked and body flickered away, catching everyone's attention. Gaara analyzed the movement, finding it overlaid exactly with Naruto's unique taijutsu style. Gaara only had a moment to appreciate this as a punch connected with his face, sending him flying with a shield of sand, trying desperately to catch up and soften his fall. That must be the armor of sand. Come. Gaara made no movement to do so, making Sasuke annoyed. If you won't come to me then I'll come to you. Sasuke charged forward, leaving a large trail of smoke behind him and body flickered out of existence right in front of Gaara's sand shield. Gaara tried to form a pair of sand waves to wrap around him, meeting at the back when he sensed Sasuke behind him. However, Sasuke deftly ducked underneath them, giving Gaara a strong kick to the chest, sending him flying into the stadium wall. Sasuke was still as confident as ever. Is this all you've got? Don't hold back. I want to see how I would compare with Naruto, and you're the perfect person to test on. Sasuke ripped across the field and ran straight into a continuous ring around Gaara. Naruto smiled. He didn't know how Sasuke had seen it, but this was Lee's secondary lotus preparation. Sasuke had seamlessly integrated it into Naruto's taijutsu style, creating a completely unique style. Sasuke shot out of the ring and ducked under the ring of sand that had surrounded Gaara, flipping over to kick Gaara in the chin to get him off balance before standing up to grab him by the shirt and kneeing him in the stomach. Sasuke wasn't even panting, showing that the majority of Sasuke's training had been to increase his total stamina capacity. Gaara got back up and formed a ram seal, making the sand form a sphere around him. Naruto knew what this had to be, considering the faint traces of demonic chakra Gaara was emitting all of a sudden. Naruto screamed at Sasuke. Sasuke. Finish him now. He's going to bring it out. Sasuke knew better than to ignore such a dire warning from Naruto, so he ran at the sphere and kicked it, finding that it was harder than any rock. Sasuke could feel a spike in killer intent and flipped back as a wall of spikes grew out of the sphere and pierced the air he had just occupied. Sasuke knew there was no point using taijutsu or even low-level ninjutsu now. He had to go straight to the top. He ran back up a stadium wall and used chakra to stick to the vertical surface. He began forming 3 very familiar hand seals before gripping his wrist as blue chakra in the form of electricity began forming in his palm, emitting a chirping noise that grew in frequency and number. Eventually, Sasuke's hand was surrounded by the lightning, and the chirping reached the pitch and number of chirps that gave the move its name. Chidori. Sasuke dragged Chidori down the wall, colliding with the ground, sending a blast of rock and dirt everywhere as he came charging from it, dragging his move along the ground, Sharingan activated, howling a war cry. Sasuke dodged the spikes and shoved the Chidori straight into the sphere, puncturing it, leaving everyone to wait for the result. Blood. My own blood. Sasuke gritted his teeth as he tried to free his hand. He formed another Chidori and ripped his hand loose as a giant veined appendage made of sand came out after him, feeling around briefly before withdrawing. About a second later, Sasuke's hair flew back as he was buffeted by wind. This didn't bother him in the slightest. What did bother him was the eye he saw for a brief second. It wasn't human, that much was certain. At this point, Sasuke and Naruto noticed something. There was a hell of a lot of molded chakra being emitted from the crowd. They turned to see the entire area under the effects of a sleeping genjutsu. Their heads snapped to the cage box as it was covered in smoke. Both of them realized something. This was the start of a war. The Chunin exam was for all intents and purposes over. Naruto's body flickered down to Sasuke's side while Temari and Kankuro went to Gaara's side. Baki joined the Sun trio while the examiner joined Naruto and Sasuke. Gaara clutched his head and fell to his knees. Gaara. Baki sneered. That's what happens when you try to change into your fully possessed state. Kankuro, Temari. Take Gaara and retreat for now. We can't do this without Gaara. Hi. They took Gaara and leapt up and over the wall. The examiner narrowed his eyes at Baki. You think you're going to have it your way? I will make it happen. The examiner turned his head slightly, indicating he was talking to the boys while being able to watch Baki. Sasuke, Naruto. Sorry, but the Chunin exam ends here. You're both already Chunin level. If you're Konoha shinobi, then be useful to Konoha. Naruto smirked. So, you want us to continue the fight and beat up that Gaara guy? Don't go too far, though. It's the real thing. Sasuke looked both ways carefully, planning his best choice of exit from the stadium. It's the same thing to us. Both Naruto and Sasuke charged off in the direction the Sand trio had gone. Baki tried to stop them by throwing 4 at them, but the examiner counted with 4 of his own, cancelling the others out. Naruto and Sasuke leapt over the wall and tore through the trees after Gaara's team. Little did either of them know that Shino was secretly watching them leave, forming a plan of his own. Thanks for watching my video, and make sure to check out the author of this fanfic, link is in the description. See you next time, till then sayonara.